Look, here's the deal. You're working hard. You're paying your bills. Maybe you're even putting a little aside each month. But somehow, the distance between where you are and where you want to be doesn't seem to be closing. You're not alone. And here's what most people never hear. It's not your income holding you back. Research shows the top 1% and the average earner often start with the same paycheck. What separates them isn't how much they make. It's a handful of daily habits nobody teaches you. Now, before we dive into those habits, I want you to understand something. This isn't about willpower. This isn't about being born into money. And it's definitely not about earning a six-figure salary before any of this applies to you. A J.P. Morgan wealth study found that over 80% of high net worth individuals share fewer than 10 specific daily financial habits. And these aren't secret habits. They're not exclusive to the rich. They're not complex financial strategies that require a degree to understand. But here's the thing. Most people never learn them because no one teaches them in school. No one teaches them at work. And by the time you figure them out on your own, you've already lost years of compounding growth you can never get back. Think about that for a second. The school system teaches you how to get a job. It doesn't teach you what to do with the money once you have one. And that gap between earning money and knowing how to keep it is exactly where most people get stuck for years. Sometimes decades. My name is Luca. I spend way too much time thinking about money. And today we're breaking down 7 specific habits that separate people who build real wealth from everyone else. These aren't theories. These are patterns backed by behavioral finance research, practiced by people who consistently grow their net worth, regardless of their starting point. Let's break it down. Before we dive in, if this is your first time here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you. Every week I break down the money habits and strategies that actually move the needle. All right, let's get to the heart of the matter. Habit 1. Pay yourself. First, not last. Here's a habit that sounds simple, until you realize almost nobody actually does it consistently. The average person earns their paycheck, pays rent, groceries, subscriptions, the car payment, and saves whatever's left, which is usually nothing. The wealthy flip this entirely. They decide in advance how much goes to savings and investing, and they live on whatever remains. Think about this for a second. If you waited to have leftover pizza at the end of the week, you'd never eat pizza. But if you cut yourself a slice first, you always eat. Your savings work exactly the same way. Now, here's the objection I hear all the time. Luca, I can barely cover my bills. There's nothing left to pay myself with. And I hear you. You're not alone in that feeling. But here's what the research actually shows. A University of Chicago behavioral economics study found that when people automate even a small transfer on payday, they adapt their spending to whatever's left in as little as 60 days. Not because they have more money, because the brain treats the remaining balance as the new normal. Even $25, even $50. The amount matters far less than the habit itself. Because here's what that $50 a month becomes at a 9% market average over 30 years. It becomes $91,000. Not from aggressive investing, not from perfectly timing anything, just from starting, just from automating, just from paying yourself first before the rest of the month has a chance to absorb it. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about being restrictive. It's about being intentional. You earn money for a reason. Make sure the first person who gets paid from that money is you. Automate a transfer, even $50 or $100, the same day your paycheck lands, before you touch anything else. This one habit alone changes your entire relationship with money. Habit 2. Track every dollar with intention. Now, you might be thinking, I have a rough idea where my money goes. That's close enough. I hear this constantly. And I get it. Tracking every dollar sounds exhausting. It sounds like something your overly cautious uncle does in a spreadsheet on a Saturday morning. But here's the thing. A study by the National Endowment for Financial Education found that people who actively track their spending save 20% more than those who don't. Not because tracking is magic, because it makes invisible spending visible. It forces your brain to acknowledge the gap between what you think you spend and what you actually spend. And that gap is almost always bigger than you expect. Subscriptions you forgot. The $9 coffee that became a daily ritual. The quick Amazon order. The food delivery instead of cooking. These add up to hundreds every single month, often $300, $400, $500, quietly leaving your account without your conscious permission. Here's where it gets really interesting. Behavioral finance research shows that people consistently underestimate their discretionary spending by 40%. 0%. Not because they're careless, because spending that's automatic feels invisible. And you cannot change what you cannot see. You don't need a complicated app. You don't need a complex system. A note on your phone, a free spreadsheet, a simple 3-bucket method. Needs, wants, savings. The goal isn't to feel guilty about every purchase. The goal is awareness, because awareness is where intentional wealth building actually begins. Wealthy people aren't obsessed with being frugal. They're obsessed with being intentional. There is a massive difference between those two things. Habit 3. Invest consistently, not occasionally. Here's where most people get this completely wrong. They wait. They wait for the market to be stable. They wait until they have enough saved. They wait until things feel certain, until the economy makes sense, until they feel ready, until some imaginary moment when it all lines up perfectly. And while they're waiting, time, the single most powerful wealth-building tool available to anyone, keeps moving without them. The wealthiest people invest a fixed amount every single month, regardless of what the market is doing. This is called dollar cost averaging, and the data on this is staggering. Someone who invested $200 a month starting at age 25, at a historical S&P 500 average return of about 9%, would have $886,000 by age 65. The same person, starting just 10 years later at age 35, they'd have $355,000. Same $200 a month. Same market. A $531,000 difference just from waiting a decade. Think about this for a second. That $531,000 isn't lost to bad investing. It's not lost to a market crash. It's lost to waiting, to hesitation, to feeling like you're not quite ready yet. Now, here's where I want to challenge you. The habit isn't investing big. It's not timing the market. It's not being clever about when to buy and sell. It's being consistent. It's automating $100 or $200 per month into an S&P 500 index fund and then leaving it alone. That's the whole strategy. And it works, not because it's sophisticated, because it's consistent. The habit isn't investing big. It's investing consistently. Every single month. Quick check. If this is already shifting how you think about money, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put out videos every week breaking down exactly this kind of thing. Now, let's keep going, because the next 4 habits are where most people leave the most money on the table. Habit 4. Protect net worth, not just income. All right. Now, let me be clear about something most people miss entirely. Most people in their 20s and 30s focus on one number, their paycheck, how much they earn. And yes, income matters. But wealthy people understand a completely different math. Income is what you make. Net worth is what you keep and grow. And here's the brutal truth. Two people can earn the exact same $60,000 salary. One spends 95% on lifestyle. The other builds assets. 10 years later, and their financial situations look completely different, not because of what they earned, but because of what they protected and where they chose to put it. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most people's spending decisions are driven by social pressure. What their friends have, what their neighborhood looks like, what they feel like they should have at their age. And that social pressure quietly pushes them toward liabilities. Cars, bigger apartments, luxury items that depreciate the moment you own them. Wealthy people think in a completely different framework. Before every major purchase, they ask one question. Is this an asset or a liability? An asset puts money in your pocket over time. A liability takes money out. A car is a liability. An index fund is an asset. A rental property is an asset. A designer watch is a liability. This sounds obvious, but most people spend 80% of their income on liabilities without ever consciously noticing the pattern. Now here's where I want to challenge you. Start tracking your net worth, not just your paycheck. Your net worth is your assets, minus your liabilities. Write that number down today. Calculate it once a month. When that number grows consistently, that is the real signal that you're building wealth. Not a salary increase, not a promotion, a growing net worth. Habit 5, invest in financial education consistently. And this is the habit that multiplies all the others. Here's where it gets really interesting. A Fidelity survey found that financially literate Americans accumulate nearly 3 times more wealth than those who aren't. Not 10% more, not 50% more. 3 times. 3 times the wealth, not from working harder, not from earning more, from understanding how money works. Wealthy people treat learning about money like a professional athlete treats game film. They study it consistently. They understand how compound interest works, not just conceptually, but mathematically. They understand how their taxes work, which accounts reduce taxable income, how inflation slowly erodes the purchasing power of cash sitting in a low-yield savings account year after year. But here's the thing. You don't need to become a financial expert. 1 finance book per quarter. 1 money podcast on the commute. Understanding what an index fund actually is. Understanding how a Roth IRA works. Understanding why a high-yield savings account pays 20 times more than a traditional one. Knowledge compounds just like money does. Every concept you learn becomes a foundation for the next one. And the best part about this habit, it is completely free. YouTube, libraries, podcasts. The information has never been more accessible. The question is whether you choose to use it. Habit 6. Think in decades, not months. All right, let's get to the heart of the matter with a habit that almost nobody talks about. Most people make financial decisions based on how they feel this month. The market dropped 8%. They panic and sell. They had a bad month of spending. They feel like a failure and abandon their budget. They don't see progress after 3 months of investing. They start wondering if it's even working. Wealthy people think in decades. And that single shift, from monthly thinking to decade thinking, changes every financial decision you make. Here's the data. The S&P 500 has had a negative return in roughly 25% of individual years since 1928. 1 in 4 years, the market goes down. But over every 20-year rolling window in that same history, the S&P 500 has been positive. Every single one. Not most of them. All of them. Think about this for a second. The investors who built the most wealth through 2008, through COVID, through every market correction in history. They weren't smarter than everyone else. They just thought longer than everyone else. They made a plan for a decade and refused to let a single month change it. A bad month, a bad year, even a bad 2 or 3 years, in the context of a 30-year wealth-building journey, these are noise. They're not signals. But if you're making decisions based on monthly feelings, you'll react to the noise and miss the signal every time. Write down a financial goal that is at least 10 years out. Let that anchor pull your current decisions, not the market headline from last Tuesday. Habit 7. Build your financial environment intentionally. And the last habit, and this is the one most people overlook entirely. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with financially, not philosophically, financially. The people closest to you shape what feels normal for your spending, your saving, your ambition, and your timeline. If everyone around you spends everything they earn, saving feels weird. If everyone around you finances their lifestyle on debt, living below your means feels extreme. You're not alone in being shaped by your environment, but you do have to be intentional about it. Here's what the research actually says. A Harvard study on social networks and financial behavior found that individuals were significantly more likely to invest and save when they were embedded in networks where investing and saving were already common behaviors. Not when they were told to. Not when they read about it. When the people around them were already doing it. This doesn't mean cutting off your friends. It means intentionally adding financial input to your daily life. A podcast with a financially sharp host. An online community of people working toward the same goals. A mentor who's already where you want to be. A partner who respects the financial plan you're building together. Now, let me be clear. Your environment isn't your destiny, but it is your default. And if you want different results, you have to build a different default, deliberately, and starting now. All right, let's get practical. 7 habits, 3 moves this week. 1. Set up an automatic savings or investment transfer for the day your paycheck arrives, even $25 or $50. Pay yourself first before anything else has a chance to absorb it. 2. Download your last 30 days of bank transactions and sort them into 3 buckets: needs, wants, savings. You will see something that surprises you, I guarantee it. 3. Open a brokerage account or Roth IRA today if you don't have one. Fidelity and Vanguard are both free. Set up a recurring $50 monthly contribution to an S&P 500 index fund. Don't time it. Just start it. The other 4 habits: protect your net worth, invest in your financial education, think in decades, and build your environment. Those happen over weeks and months. But these 3, you can start all of them before this week is over. Now here's where I want to challenge you. Don't try to do everything at once. Pick one. Make it automatic. Make it easy. Add the next one next month. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. And fast, over a decade, is wealthy. Here's what changes when you build these habits. You stop seeing money as a constant stressor, and you start seeing it as a tool that can work for you. You stop reacting to your bank account and start directing it. That shift in thinking, from passive to intentional, is what separates people who build real, lasting wealth from people who wonder why it never happens to them. And if you can save that first $5,000, if you can start that first automated transfer, if you can learn one financial concept this week, you've already learned some of the most powerful lessons you'll need to build long-term wealth. So, what's next for you? The choice is yours. Subscribe now to keep building your financial knowledge with me. Let's continue this journey together. And make sure these habits are just the beginning.